Next question. I had a few questions relating to my family life for guys who join the SEALs. My boyfriend is interested in taking the pass. So this is coming from the girl.
Oh, okay.
Interesting. Jocko, you have mentioned being married while a SEAL. Was it hard on you and your wife and family? Advice for a newlywed SOF candidate.
That stands for SOF, Special Operations Forces.
There you go.
So this was 2 questions, and basically from the other side. Mm-hmm. And by the way, everyone that's asked, can I bring my wife on here? My wife has given the stern negative. She's not coming. You know why? Because she's a legit quiet professional. She's just a legit quiet professional. She doesn't want any of this glory. Yeah. No, she did it just because she loves the job. So my wife has said no, and someone said, I said, went back and forth with somebody on social media, and they said, hey, flank her. Hey, man, she knows this game, bro. She's not gonna get flanked. It's super easy. But what I'm doing is kind of playing a long-term game. I'm planting some seeds and whatnot, trying to get her maybe to think about how she could help some other folks out there. Right. So, we're trying to work through. Yeah. There is some flanking activity going on. We're going to see where it goes. But to this question, being married to a guy that's in special operations or in the SEAL teams or whatever, it is a hard life in many ways. And, the SEAL teams, we had a 90% divorce rate. By the way, a 90, and I think it's come down a little bit. I'm not 100% sure. I don't know what the current numbers are to date, but man, when I was a young kid, everybody was divorced. Guys were just getting married and divorced all the time. So here's the couple things that I would tell you that I think made my marriage last, right? Aside from my wife being awesome, of course, right? Full credit. But here's a couple things. Number one, you have to respect the fact that the job is the number one priority. And that is completely different from what a lot of people think. And I don't mean to be offensive by saying that, but the job has to be number one. And for me, and I've said this before on interviews, the job was the most important thing to me. And my wife didn't take offense to that. She didn't, when I said, hey, I'm going to work, but it's Saturday, doesn't matter. I'm not gonna be coming home tonight. Why? I'm going to work, and then I'm going out with my friends because we're gonna go and hang out because that's what we do. Yep. And she never would get offended by that. Instead, she realized, okay, yeah, his job is the most important thing. He's got to take care of himself. He's got to take care of his guys. He's got to take care of his job. He's got to take care of the country. So I am number 2. That's cool. You know what I need to do is help support him. And so that is what was happening. And so what that means is your wife, in this case, you, young lady that's asking this question, you need to be an independent person, right? You need to be self-sufficient. And that's not just self-sufficient with, being able to clear the toilet when it gets clogged up and, call the plumber when the water heater breaks and handle all that administrative stuff and all the tasks around the house and provide, take care of the finances, because your husband's gonna be gone. He's gonna be gone. He's gonna be on a workup. He's gonna be gone a lot. And so you got to be able to handle all that stuff. And on top of that, you have to be self-sufficient emotionally self-sufficient, where you don't need to have this constant flow of affection coming from this guy who has a bunch of other things to worry about. Yeah. Right? So that's hard to do. And it's hard. I think that's one of the problems. I mean, that's why there's probably a high divorce rate, because it's hard to find a girl or a woman that can do those things. Yeah. Right? So it's that's part of the solution here. Now, the husband, obviously, big things you got to do is leave your job at work, right? And don't bring it home with you. And I've talked about this before. In the SEAL teams, you don't have to. When you get done with work, you change. You put on your civilian clothes. You go home, so you're not bringing that with you. That's sort of a psychological moment to change and get those out. But there's also the attitude that you can carry over very easily, because the SEAL teams, and special operations and the military in general, but definitely the SEAL teams, is a hostile environment with your friends. Your friends are not supportive, caring, nurturing friends. No, your friends are just savages, right? Yeah. Everything, they're looking for weakness. It's all fun, but it's all just a constant just battle, verbal abuse all day long. It's fun. Like, we're having fun with it. That's the sick sense of humor, when Tim Kennedy was on here and they made that movie Range 15, and all that like kind of sick, twisted sense of humor is what you're living in. And there's a real problem that occurs when you take that little sick sense of humor and that abusive personality that you develop at work and you bring it home. Yeah. And that happened to me when I went to college, and all of a sudden I wasn't around any team guys anymore. All day long, no more team guys. And then here I am. And what do I do now? I come home from going to school all day, which was annoying. And then the first person I talked to, because I didn't talk to anyone when I went to school, unless I was asking them a specific question about some knowledge or some thing that was happening in a class. Other than that, I didn't make any friends. So I'd come home and I want to socialize. What was the only way I knew how to socialize with people? Cutting them down, abusing them. And that's a little bit strong, but, definitely making comments and trying to have a good time through cutting people down. And so, and I've talked about this before. I think somebody's kind of grabbed onto this, but, for instance, before I was going to college, when I was just in the teams, my wife would make dinner, whatever it is. She makes it. Hey, cool. Thank you. Appreciate it. When I was going to school, all of a sudden I'm not around team guys anymore. I want to have some fun when I come home. And, she'd cook me something and I would have some comments about it, right? And eventually, and it was very clear when she said this to me, she didn't think a big deal. She just goes, hey, I'm not a team guy, Right. I think I said something about this dried chicken that she made. My wife has always had some issues getting moist chicken made, right? It always, I don't know, she's paranoid about food poisoning, but when she cooks it, man, she cooks it big time. I mean, she goes the distance, right? She will cook that thing until, you got to bring a gallon of water to the table just to get through the meal. So she's actually gotten a lot better in the recent years. So anyways, back in the day, she'd say, oh, I made you some chicken. And I'd say, oh, can you just go ahead and bring me 3 gallons of water to the table? And then it was one of those comments that I made one time where she says, I'm not a team guy. And I kind of laughed and I said, oh my gosh, look what I'm doing. I'm treating her like a team guy, and she's not a team guy, and she doesn't need to be treated like that. So I just put myself in check and got myself under control and treated my wife like the good person that she is. So there's that. There's communication. And this is a weird thing because everyone's going to say communication, but my point here is don't expect communication, right? Don't expect communication. One of my buddies was married, and we were going on deployment. This is a long time ago. He was married. He had three kids, been married to, married his high school sweetheart, blah, blah, blah. And he lived in Coronado where the SEAL teams are. He lived there. And he lived there with his wife. And one day he dropped off his car. He had to get his car worked on or something like that. And he said, we'd been at the SEAL teams for 5 years. He's married the whole time, been at SEAL Team 1. And one time he says to his wife, hey, he calls her and says, hey, can you come pick me up? Because we got to go somewhere, blah, blah, blah. And she goes, yeah. She says, where are you? He goes, I'm at the team. And she goes, where is it? And Coronado, by the way, is only like a mile long. Yeah. And so it was a classic example of he never told his wife even where the buildings were or what he did or anything like that. And that's just the way it was. And a lot of successful SEAL marriages that I've seen, there's not a lot of, hey, this is what I did at work today, and hey, this guy's a jerk, and hey, we're trying to make this happen, and hey, I got in trouble for this. There's none of that. There's just like work, and then there's what we have, right? And I think that you got to separate those two. But what I'm saying is this idea of communication happening all the time, it's not going to happen all the time. It's not going to, and I don't even know I don't think it's beneficial. When I was overseas, I wouldn't call you could call your wife, basically every day if you wanted to. I didn't call my wife every single day. I don't want to call my wife every day. It makes time slow down. It doesn't speed it up. Just don't call. Call like once a week. That's what I did. Call my wife once a week. Hey, how you doing? I'm fine. How's everything at home? I would just ask her questions about home. Didn't tell her anything that was going on ever, and just said, "Oh yeah, how's this? Oh yeah, did you get the how's the car, and did you get the water heater fixed, and how's the kids doing in school, and blah 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 blah." Ask her questions, because otherwise you're going to start talking about your world, and then that's going to make them worried and concerned and everything else, and you don't want that. So you don't need to talk to somebody every single day. That's neediness. That's emotional. That's what I was talking about earlier with being emotionally independent, right? You got to be independent. You can't need that like security of, hey, call me and talk to me. No, actually, I'm not going to call you. I'm not going to talk to you. You go do your thing. I'm doing my thing. On top of that, I think it's cool if you want to set some goals, together, make a little team, you're trying to make some things happen. You're trying to make some financial goals or some family goals or some house goals. We want to get new carpet, want to put some new wallpaper up, whatever, want to add just do stuff and make those goals. Maybe we make some jiu-jitsu goals together. That's always good. My wife was really good at jiu-jitsu. She's kind of stopped training when she started having babies every 18 months and all that. Sure. But we used to have a blast training jiu-jitsu all the time. Yeah. So I obviously recommend the jiu-jitsu to help all relationships. Yeah. Fully. Working out together is another good one. Even if you can't get the jiu-jitsu together, you can just work out together. Yeah. And that's cool. And then you got to give each other some space. Right? Got to give each other some space. The guy, he's a team guy. He's a special operations guy. He's going to hang with his friends sometimes. And that's the way it goes. There's nothing wrong with that. That's the way things work. And you know what? She's going to go do the same thing. So that's okay. Yeah. So I think those are the main things. JP, when JP was on here, he made a good point of put each other first, right? That was pretty simple point. Yep. That goes a long way. Yep. That goes a long way. Yeah. Which is contrary to what I said, which is like the team is going to come first. Yeah. But that's your job. Yeah. And I think you can still put your team as the number one priority and doing your job as your number one priority. Because that's the thing. I said this a million times, right? Hey, listen, darling. The reason I have to do my job well is because this is what we do. We fight, and guys are going to be trying to kill us. So the best thing I can do for our relationship is stay alive. Yeah. So that means, and not only that, but I got these guys that also need to stay alive for their wives. So we're going to work hard. We're going to train hard. We're going to play hard. We're going to know each other better. We're going to bond, and all those things are going to happen. And that's how I can best support this family, is by kicking ass at my job. And if you're a smart wife, you'll go, that makes sense to me. Yeah. And it'll be okay. So in putting your job as the number one priority, you're actually supporting the family, and you're putting your spouse first, because you're trying to take care of yourself, take care of your team, so that you can come home when it's time to come home. Yeah. Yeah, JP made it. I mean, the put each other first. That's kind of like dated. It's like you got to remember that, Because you know how if you're on two different pages, Oh yeah, you gotta remind yourself daily. Yeah, but man, it helps. It helps a lot. Have you been doing that lately? I liked how JP put it. We just put each other first. It's real. Dang, that kind of resonated. I don't like using that word, but it resonated. Why don't you like using that word? I don't know. Those words. Certain words just sound dumb coming out of your mouth. Is that one of them? In my opinion, yes. It sounds out of anyone's mouth? No, out of my I think that sounded pretty good, actually. Oh, thanks, Paul. All right. But yeah, that was a good one. Good luck. By the way, good luck to these guys that are trying to get in the special operations community. Obviously, I loved it, and it was awesome for me. And I'll tell you, my wife, that was definitely hard, man. It's a hard path. And when your husband's over on deployment and you're home and guys are coming home wounded or guys are getting killed overseas, that's hard. And that's one of the things that I talk about, the strength of the spouses and the independence, and to be able to deal with those hardships when they come. That's real stuff. And so to the women out there that support these guys, God bless you. Yeah, that point you made where you
I think it's probably just habitually a little bit when you treat your wife like a team guy, you know, like how, because that's how you're used to like bonding with people you like, you know. So in a way, it's like it's good. You know, I treat you like good. Yeah, man, it's not a one-way street, man. You can't be doing that. I had the same thing because that's how me and my brother that's it. The whole thing is like so you can make the funniest joke about the other guy, you know, and then. So Sarah was like our friend before we got together. So she kind of, and she didn't like that even from the beginning. But once you're kind of like in the relationship, she kind of got a lot of it. And she'd constantly like I'm not your, you know, and of course.
I'm not your brother.
Yeah, I'm not your brother. I'm not your friend. Like that kind, you know. But of course, if you're not looking at it as like a two-way street, you're like, wait, you should be happy I'm treating you like this, you know?
This is my way of showing affection.
Exactly right. You should be happy, right? No. That's a different person you're talking about, you know? Anyway.